Welcome to today's MI tip. We have explored the first three tasks of MI: engaging, focusing, evoking. And before we move into the planning task, I want to briefly go over some very important tools that we can use to assess readiness. The rulers are powerful for so many reasons, and they're a really nice way of taking out the guesswork regarding whether or not you should even try to move into the planning phase with your patients. The MI rulers consist of scaling questions. We use them in a particular strategic way to cultivate what we want more of in motivational interviewing. You know it, change talk. We can also use them as a gauge to determine what path to take in order to best support our patients. Can we move into planning, or do we need to spend more time in evoking? I think especially as a beginner in MI, these can be huge in supporting your practice and avoiding the mistake of premature planning. Basically, trying to move too quickly into planning can backfire and potentially cause a person to feel even more resistant around the change process. And then as you develop your skills, you learn to sense into their readiness, especially as you start to recognize more of that CATS type of change talk coming into the conversation. And even advanced MI practitioners can benefit from revisiting these classic MI tools from time to time. So there's three versions that I want to review today: the readiness ruler, the importance ruler, and the confidence ruler. Here's a photo of me getting ready to jump into a river. I know I'm not that high, but for me, it was a big deal. And it took quite a bit of time for me to take that leap. Anyway, starting with the readiness ruler. This is more of a general tool that can be really helpful if you don't have much time with your patient. So on a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 being not at all ready and 10 being completely ready, how ready are you to fill in the blank? And then you ask a straight question about the number that they choose, which helps you to understand exactly what that number means to them. A 7 might be different for them than you interpret it to be. So you ask them to tell you about the number they chose. Tell me about a 6. They explain. Then you ask a backwards question. And the purpose of that is to generate change talk. What made you choose a 6 and not a lower number like a 4 or 5? So they're going to give you all their reasons why they might want to be changing, which is what we want to increase and hear more of. Then you might ask the forward question, and this can help them with starting to generate a next step. It can even give you a better sense of if they're even ready to go there or not. But you can try asking, what might help you towards a 6.5 or even a 7? So notice you're just going up a very small increment. You're not trying to get them to a 10. You're just, little baby steps. And then once they give you that, you take everything that they've given you in this series of questions and you summarize, ending with any change talk, and that's really powerful. So by the way, I did go ahead and jump in. It was important enough. I wanted to prove this to myself, that I'm fun and adventurous, and I kept telling myself I won't have this opportunity again. And I was feeling confident having seen others do it before me. So I was ready. Now, going back to the readiness ruler, sometimes the readiness ruler isn't nuanced enough to give you a clear picture of how ready people actually are. For example, people will give you a really high number, maybe a 9 or a 10, but when you start to move into next steps or planning, they suddenly become quite resistant. They might say things like, yeah, but that's never going to work for me. Or, no, I've tried that and it didn't work. Why is that? Well, it all boils down to importance and confidence. So readiness equals importance and confidence together. You've got to have both of those pretty high in order to really feel ready. So here's a photo of my son jumping into the river from almost 20 feet up with no hesitation whatsoever. He was totally ready. So things aren't always as straightforward, though. Again, you may have a person give you a 9 or 10 on the readiness scale. So making the change maybe is super important for them, hence the high number, but actually their confidence is low and they're not really quite sure how to move forward. So sometimes it's helpful to assess importance and confidence separately so you know how to best support a person to truly meet them where they're at. And sometimes you can just hear it. So have a listen to this statement and see if you can figure out what's going on. I really need to lose this weight. I'm having to take like 3 or 4 different medications now. My back and knees are constantly screaming at me. I have zero energy to play with my kids after work. Something's got to change if I want to see them graduate. It's just that every time I've tried to lose weight, it only works for a month or maybe 2. I just don't seem to have the willpower to keep going with things. So what do you think? Sounds like high importance, but low confidence. So in this case, what could help would be to use that same ruler we just went over, but ask about confidence specifically. Now here's another scenario. See if you can figure out what's going on here. I know I can lose the weight. Before I got married, I was so fit. I was lifting weights and running and doing my meal prep. I could probably write a book on nutrition and fitness. It's just that right now my life is so busy. I'm shuttling the kids back and forth. I'm working full time again. And even though I'm heavy, it's not like it's impacting my health in any way right now. Did you hear it? What we've got here is low importance, but high confidence. And there are also some that will show up with high importance and high confidence. And these are like everyone's dream person. They're super easy to coach, but tend to be on the rarer side because chances are they don't need a coach. And then we've got the low importance, low confidence. So here's what this might sound like. I don't know how you're going to be able to help me. I've tried to quit so many times and just can't do it. My doctor pretty much twisted my arm to do this. Honestly, I enjoy smoking, and I've come to terms with the fact that I'm probably going to smoke until the day I die. Yikes. So these folks tend to be also on the more rare side since they usually won't show up to their appointment. But we do get some, and they may show up as super resistant, like maybe their doctor, forced them to talk to us for some reason or another. And we can still use the rulers with these folks. And I would recommend in this scenario, starting with importance. We want to build up that importance, kind of get the wind in their sails. Potentially, we do what we can. By the way, can anyone find the change talk in this statement? It's hidden, but it's there. It's, I've tried to quit so many times. So that would definitely be something that I would want to explore a bit. I might start with a reflection like, yeah, smoking brings you pleasure and you're pretty skeptical of being able to quit at this point. And then I'd wait to see how they responded to that empathy and then maybe offer something to potentially try and grow that change talk. And yet, you've tried a bunch of times to quit this thing that brings you joy and see if they come up with anything juicy around that. So with this scenario, here's a demonstration around how it might sound to use the importance ruler. Sustained talk is in red and change talk is in green. So I wonder, on a scale of 0 to 10, how important is it for you to quit smoking? Oh, I don't know. I guess like a 2. Tell me about a 2. Like I said, I still really enjoy smoking. It relieves my stress and it's my me time. Yeah, and I'm curious you chose a 2 and not a 0. How come? Well, I'm not an idiot. I know it can't be great for my health. Everyone's nagging me to quit. Uh-huh. And what do you think might move the needle for you even a tiny bit, like to a 3? I don't know. Maybe cutting back a bit to see how it feels. They are getting expensive. Right. So for you, there's a part of you that still relishes your smoking time. And there's another piece that's thinking about long-term health along with your loved ones. And it would be great to get everyone off your case. You're thinking that cutting back could save you money, and you're wondering if you might feel better smoking less. So, using these rulers can be a great way to figure out if it's time to move into the fourth task in MI, planning. And remember, if they aren't ready, it's okay. You've still had a successful and productive MI conversation. There doesn't need to be planning for it to be motivational interviewing. And then once you can determine if a person is truly ready, you can help them to self-select their winning pace and maybe even have them come up with a next step. Again, we never rush into planning, and planning will be our topic for next time. Until then, enjoy the karaoke song that goes along with Am I Rulers to the tune of Royals by Lord. Have a great week.